Hello y'all, and welcome to YoungFolk Knits. Today I have a lot to catch you up on. I have some knitting progress, a lot of knitting things actually. I have a sewing finished object, some sewing whips, I have some spinning progress, and I'm knitting with my hand spun. So lots of exciting things today and a lot to get through. So stick around and we will jump right in. Hello y'all, and welcome back to YoungFolk Knits. My name is Casey, and if you're new here, on this channel I share all about my love for fiber arts. So there's a lot of knitting, there's some sewing and spinning and whatever other crafts I might be getting up to. Occasionally I will share a bit about living on a small farm here in Arkansas where my husband, myself, and our children are beekeepers, and we love chickens and gardens and animals and spending time outdoors here in the foothills of the Ozarks. So if any of that sounds like it might be your cup of tea, make sure and hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on any future video content. Today I have so much to catch you up on. It's been a long few, I was going to say weeks, but it's been a long few months actually. I'm a little bit behind on updating y'all with different project progress. So today I have quite a bit of that in store for you. I do want to just briefly take a moment to talk about a little bit of a life update, and then we will get right into the reason you're here, which is all the crafty goodness. If you're a subscriber, then you may have seen last week I did not post a video, and instead I did post a message letting you all know that we did unexpectedly lose my sweet father-in-law. And I'm not going to get too deeply into it or else I will not be able to record a video today. So I just wanted to briefly sort of let y'all know a little bit about what happened. My father-in-law was 79 years old. He was almost 80, but he was in the shape of a 60-year-old man or younger. He was just absolutely go, go, go all the time. He worked hard. He was on his tractor 24/7. He had 5 different gardens every year. He stayed incredibly busy all the time and loved being busy, which I think kept him young. A lot of that played into his really good health that he has enjoyed for the last 80 years. Last couple of weeks, my father-in-law was having some chest pain that would come and go, and he did end up in the hospital with a heart attack, and they were unable to stent him, so he had open heart surgery. He had a triple bypass. He did absolutely amazing. We all could not believe how well he was doing after the surgery. And he came home very quickly, but unfortunately last week he did pass away the day after he came home, very unexpectedly and very suddenly. So we are all completely heartbroken. He was a very special man, and he loved the area that we live on. He and his wife, my mother-in-law, they did give my husband and I some of their land that we were able to build a house on and live here in the beautiful rural countryside. So he always would watch my videos, and he was so thrilled anytime I would put footage in of the land here. He just loved that. He was constantly coming up with ideas, telling me what I needed to film. Every time I hear an engine, I think that it is him pulling up on his tractor outside. We are all heartbroken, and we are all going to miss him so much. But I wanted to say on behalf of my husband's family and myself, thank you for all the very kind and sweet messages that you left. All of the kind words meant so very much, and I really appreciate that. Because of everything happening the last few weeks, first of all with his heart attack and hospital stay and surgery, and then after he passed away, I really have not gotten a whole lot done. In fact, I almost didn't knit, period, the last 2 weeks. But I had so much done before that that I really have quite a bit of progress to show you, despite the fact that I haven't done much knitting the last couple of weeks. And honestly, I think my hands really benefited from the break. I have some damage from previous overuse, especially if I do too much too quickly on small circumference needles or with the wrong yarn. I will definitely have a flare up in my hands that goes all the way up into my elbows. I keep it under control, but sometimes if I knit too much or with the wrong fibers, I can definitely feel that the flare is coming, and that had happened this last month. So I think it was probably good for me to go ahead and rest and give my hands a rest while I have been taking care of my family. And now I'm ready to pick back up my knitting and make some more progress. I actually have a few test knits, three test knits that I'm going to share with you in a second. But first of all, I want to show you the progress on my Pohiola pullover. So if this is not your first time watching, then you probably know that I am co-hosting a knit along with Sari Nordland, who is the designer of the Pohiola pullover. We are co-hosting the Pohiola Cal, or Pohiola knit along, and what we're doing is just working on this lovely design through the end of April. So there's still a couple of weeks left. If you would like to participate with us, there is no requirement to finish the entire sweater. We are just knitting it together and working on it together during the months of March and April. And Sari and I both really appreciate slow making and mindful making, and really being able to enjoy it and not feeling like there's a lot of pressure and not adding any negative pressure from our knitting. Instead, we want it to be a really positive experience. And so because of that, we definitely didn't want anyone to feel like they needed to complete the project by the end of April. So if you want to participate in this knit along, all you have to do is cast on, or if you've got a work in progress, whips are welcome. And all you need to do is just post a picture on Instagram using the hashtag PohiolaCal, or post in Sari's Ravelry thread, which I will add a link to in the description box. And we're also kind of chatting a little bit over there all about our colors and yarns and progress. So it's a fun little place to visit as well. I had decided to knit mine in Sonder Yarn Co. So this is a fingering weight pullover. It is a circular yoke with 3-stranded color work, and it does have both knit and purl in the color work, which I'll just be honest was a little bit scary at first. Mainly it was scary in the fact that I was a little nervous about the work involved that I knew was gonna happen. However, as I've mentioned in my previous videos, this ended up being an extremely fun circular yoke chart to knit. I feel like I leveled up my 3-stranded color work a lot by really thinking about not just, which hand was my dominant color. That's very important in color work, by the way. Your dominant color always needs to be held in your left hand, and your background colors need to be held in your right hand. So you always have to, think about that, and it needs to stay consistent, or else you're going to have very muddy color work that doesn't have a crisp design. But I was able to think in advance this time, okay, which do I want to be my dominant color? And maybe make some changes based off which yarn I wanted to hold in my left hand. Because I'm an English knitter, it's by far easier for me to knit with my yarn being held in my right hand. And so I always needed the easier strand to be in my left hand if possible. Now, I never wanted to sacrifice anything for the sake of ease as far as the crispness of the color work went. So I still always try to keep, you know, the dominant color over here. But sometimes I made a little bit of a change on what might have been my dominant color. And for instance, I always purled with my right hand. I get a little confused sometimes on my left and my right. And I just feel like this has really upped my comfort level with 3-stranded color work and my ease, my skill, my proficiency. And I'm going to be much more open to this kind of color work in the future. It's not so scary. It's not such a Herculean labor anymore. They need to add one of the labors of Hercules, 3-stranded color work. Anyway, I've absolutely loved this. I did make a little bit of a change. This is supposed to be a folded collar, and I decided that I wanted it to not be folded. I wanted it to be more of a mock neck. So I knit mine to about 3 inches, and I did not fold it over and sew it down. Instead, I went straight into the color work. And I feel like it kind of helps this lay a little bit better because it can pull as it needs to. I have since finished the body. I cast off the body of my sweater. Now, I almost always do a tubular bind off, but my brain, there's just so much going on lately. And I did actually finish this before everything happened, but I decided to do a regular bind off in pattern. I bound off in ribbing. I did not do a tubular or sewn or Italian bind off. It just was not in the cards for me this time. And I think that it looks just fine. In fact, you can't tell. I mean, can you tell from right there looking at this if I did a tubular bind off or if I did a bind off in pattern? You cannot. Just say no. I'm very happy with this. So all I have left to do are 2 sleeves, and I'm not going to do the color work on the sleeves. I'm just going to do plain regular sleeves, and I'm probably going to do bracelet length sleeves. That's my plan. We'll see once I get started. So I do have some 16-inch circulars, and I think that they'll be big enough to do the first half of the sleeves before I have to decrease to the point that I will then go down to 9-inch circulars for the rest of the sleeve. So the first part is going to be easy sailing, and I would love to have this done the next time we chat. I'm not making any promises though. We will see. I did use full English for this color. This is Offline, and then this sort of blue gray is Personal Space. And this is on the Sonder Yarn 4-ply, Sunday Morning 4-ply base, which is a lovely Massam BFL mix. BFL just has a really beautiful luster, and it's just special yarn, and I love this blend. This was provided as yarn support, and so thank you so much to Sonder Yarn Co. I absolutely love this base. Y'all know I have purchased it many times. Okay, next whip. My next whip is a newer cast on. New as in y'all haven't seen it yet. And I know that one of my goals for this year was to do less test knits, but there were like 3 or 4 test knits that I knew before this year even started that I wanted to do, and unfortunately they've all sort of come at the exact same time. But once I've finished these, I don't really have any other test knits planned, and instead I have a few exciting collaborations coming up. But yes, I am back in that test knit trauma. All right. So this is the Book Club Cardigan pattern, which I am testing for Sari Nordland. And it is a 18 stitch gauge cabled cardigan. And I gotta tell y'all, it's absolutely stunning. As far as cable designs go, it's not, anything crazy complex, similar to like the Aurelia pullover. That one I tested for Sari, and it is, every second you're cabling everywhere. This one is a little bit easier on the brain, but very effective, very classic. I am a huge fan of All Creatures Great and Small, and I feel like this is a sweater you could easily see on All Creatures Great and Small. So Sari knit hers holding a strand of something with mohair, I think. And I am allergic to mohair. I'm also kind of over the whole mohair Sari thing. Not that I won't use it. I will use it for the right project. Well, not mohair. I'll never use mohair because I'm allergic and I want to keep breathing. But Sari, I would use under the right circumstances. I do think Sari is beautiful. I'm just kind of tired of doing, especially cables. I don't want to do cables with Sari. I don't really like it. I don't enjoy the experience of knitting cables with Sari at all. When I knit cables, I want it to be with a very woolly yarn that has some nice bounce to it and is much easier on my hands. I do prefer to cable without a cable needle, and because of that, a non-superwash, bouncy, woolly yarn is your best friend if you want to cable without a cable needle. So I am instead using a single strand of what I feel like is worsted weight yarn. It is categorized as DK, but it is by wooldreamers. It is Mota by wooldreamers. This was very kindly provided as yarn support for this project by wooldreamers. Of course, it came with no strings attached, so I'm very excited to let you all know my opinions using this. This is my very first time using Mota, and a little bit more about it. Now, this is a Spanish yarn company, and I think that this is 100% merino. I'm having a little bit of trouble finding all the information on here. It's 3 plies, 100 grams, has 252 yards. It is made in Spain. So on their website, wooldreamers says, with the aim to support small farms, Mota was developed as a collaboration with several ranching families, each contributing the finest wool their flocks had to offer in order to produce this very special yarn. Okay, let me see. It's a soft and lofty 3-ply. Yes, I agree with the soft and lofty. It's definitely lofty. It's worsted spun. 100% Spanish wool sourced from Manchega and Marina Interfina sheep. I guess maybe that means it's not 100% merino, but it's absolutely lovely. And I feel like even though it's rated as a DK weight yarn, I feel like it is a worsted weight yarn to me. I'm using it for this 18 stitch gauge project and it's working out really lovely. It's soft. It's definitely feels unique to me though. While it is a worsted spun, it almost looks like and feels like it has a bit of a woolen spun properties to it. So maybe it is semi worsted. I'll have to do a little bit more research, but I think it's the softest yarn from wooldreamers I have ever used, and I'm very, very pleased with it. The stitch definition is amazing. I think the stitch definition is absolutely beautiful, as you can see for yourself. A little story about this. I cast this on the day of the eclipse which is the day my father-in-law came home from the hospital. And I had laid out a pile of different needles that I was going to use for this project, and I wasn't even paying attention. I needed my US 6 or 4 millimeter, and apparently I accidentally picked up my US 4, which is like a 3.5 millimeter, I think. Anyway, I worked a whole day's worth on the US 4 needles, and I was just like, wow, this is so tight. This fabric is not, something's not right here. You know, it's such a rookie mistake. Like, I know I can pretty much look at a needle at this point and I can tell you very close to what it is. I can look at a US 6 and know that it's a US 6. I can look at a US 4 and know that it's a US 4. But I think I was just really stressed because my father-in-law had been in the hospital. There's just been a lot going on, and I just obviously was not paying attention. And my hands were hurting really bad. And I'm like, okay, this fabric is too thick. This is not working out right. And I looked and I'm like, okay, I've got a US 4 needle. So I ripped it all out, cast back on, started over, much better. Much better. I'm like, this is not like my gauge in my swatch was. I was like, I don't know, I must be really stressed, because I just kept thinking, this is knitting up so much tighter than my gauge swatch was. And now I know. So I ripped the whole thing out, which took me an entire day a lot of knitting that day. I cast back on and I'm back to here. I need to do 4 inches. I need to get 4 inches before I put this on hold and then pick up for the front. So I've just got a little bit left on the back, but I feel like I'm not making very quick progress here. Anyway, this is a very enjoyable knit. I don't have much to tell you about it because I'm still, very newly into it, except that I like the yarn a lot. It does have great stitch definition. I think it's going to make those cables just absolutely shine. It's not incredibly drapey at the moment. It definitely has some structure. I think once I block it, it will have more drape, but the nature of this yarn is just not going to be the drapiest sweater of all times, and that's okay. That wasn't my goal. Also, side note, we were in the path of totality for the eclipse, and it was amazing. It was so cool. It was kind of creepy. Like, it got totally dark and the birds were roosting, the crickets started chirping, the lights came on that are, the light sensitive night watcher lights just like popped on. It was really cool. It was so much more than I thought it was going to be. It was just more. It was really, really cool. We did all the eclipse activities, a lot of pre-eclipse activities, and the day of we did a lot of fun things with the kids. Okay, next project. This is one that I'm going to show you this time, and I probably will not be able to show it to you again until it's released, but good news is the release is going to be very soon. I hate showing y'all a secret test knit or even showing you the yarn for a secret test knit, but then saying I can't share anything else about it for a while. That's not fair. That's no fun. So this is just some ribbing, and I can share that with y'all, and then I will share the finished object with you very, very soon when it is released. But this is a little secret test knit that I'm doing for a well-known designer. And I am using the Farmer's Daughter Fibers Pishkin DK. So this is a Rambouillet yarn, and it is yet again classified as a DK, but I find that for me it knits up at a worsted gauge, and so that is what I use it for. I can't really use it in a pattern that needs a true DK gauge. it's very hard for me. I have to just go down on needle sizes, and I hate doing that. So I think this is working out beautifully knit up at a worsted weight gauge. This is the color Daddy State of Mind. It's a super fun green, and I really love this base. I will definitely be using it some more. Rambouillet is such a fabulous yarn, and I am a huge fan of Rambouillet yarn. So this is going to be a brief whip. It won't be a whip for long, but I do still need to work on it, and hopefully I'll have it done in this week. I'll let y'all know more about it at the beginning of May, but I really am enjoying knitting with this yarn. Ribbing, fun. I think I'm going to stop after this one last whip for today as far as the knitting goes, because I have a lot of whips that I just haven't really made any super progress on since the last time we chatted. So I'll save a lot of those for the next episode. I do want to show you this one. This is a little baby shawl here. So this is the Mockingbird Shawl, which I have cast on using, drumroll please, my hand spun. All right, y'all, I recently had a little surprise sent to me, which was a few beautiful braids of fiber from Primrose Yarn Co. And it was dyed up in colors that reminded them of the Ozarks here where I live. The name of this is Ozark Dreaming, and it is really, truly a beautiful fiber. This is their merino base, and I think that spun up, it's just absolutely, truly beautiful, all plied together. It's very special. It's just lovely colors. Just some really lovely colors. I had a very hard time spinning. I was shooting for sport weight, and once I applied it in a 2-ply, I definitely got fingering weight. But that's okay. It's still working nicely. And this shawl is designed using Primrose Yarn Co. Replay Sport weight base, along with your hand spun or their Sport Homestead Sport is also works for this shawl pattern. So she wrote this shawl pattern up and named it the Mockingbird Shawl, which is the state bird of Arkansas, and it's really a beautiful pattern. It has this sort of checkerboard design of alternating brioche and some really interesting texture on the other side, but it sort of checkerboards a lot, and it's not just like this side is brioche and this side is the texture, but there's a lot of changing around, and I think it's really interesting. So this is what I've got so far. Tons of progress, as you can tell. And I have my stitch markers and progress keeper from Sable and Stone, and I think they're pretty, and I think that they match my yarn. But this is really fun, and the hand spun is knitting up so nicely. I really like it. So I hope to make a lot more progress on this as well. Unfortunately, I just haven't got to knit a whole lot on it, so I don't have a ton of progress to show, but this is available. I got the peach, the Replay Sport in the peach color, and then this, like I said, is the Ozark Dreaming fiber, which they created. So I'm going to link that in the description below, but I think this is going to be a super fun little shawl, so I can't wait to get more and more knit up on that. One last thing in spinning, and then I want to show you my sewing, and then that will be all for today. All right, y'all, I have finished plying and I wet finished this Hello Yarn combo spin for my traveler hoodie. So I have both my sleeve yarns done, and then I have 2 braids of the body yarn done. So I went ahead and caked up one of the skeins, and I am going to be knitting this, well, along with a lot of you, I'm sure, because Andrea Mowry is hosting her DRK Spin It to Knit It with the Traveler patterns right now. But also Anna from Brook Willow and Marlene from Marlene Knits. The 3 of us we all spun yarn at the exact same time, and we're going to cast on at the same time to knit our little Traveler project. So I'm excited. I think the combo spin turned out just like I wanted. I'm going to link the video in my description where I explained exactly how I did this combo spin and all the info on it. So if you want more info in it, you can definitely watch that video. Okay, last thing I want to share with you is some sewing. I have been seeing bob pants, the sewing pattern for the bob pants, for the last many years, and they always look so cute. And I wasn't sure though if the shape would be very flattering and comfortable for my body type. However, I finally decided to go for it, and I'm so glad I did. I had this really super fun blood red orange linen, and I decided to use it for some bob pants. Now, I ended up doing the size 18, and there were some mistakes made. First of all, this is the easiest pair of pants I have ever sewn in my life. I have sewn 2 pairs of free range slacks. I've sewn chanterelle pants in view A. I've probably sewn about 5 different pairs of linen pants. I've sewn the Winslow culottes. I've sewn multiple pants that were part of a jumpsuit, that ended up being put together. But this was the most simple pattern, and part of what makes it so simple is there's no pockets on the back. It does have pockets on the side. However, I have a serger, and I had kids hanging all over me, and I had a little serger mishap where I serged right into my pocket and it cut half the pocket off. And at that point, I just couldn't fix it, and I didn't really want to. So I went back and I cut my pockets out, and I just sewed my pants closed. And when I did that, I removed a lot of the barrel shaping on the side from where the pockets were. And so I made them into a much more of a straight pant. And I love them. I love the fit, the comfort. The linen this linen that I have is a very thin linen, so my undergarments have to be non-patterned or else you can definitely see them through it. But I think it's going to be perfect for the summer. So breathable, and I really love them. The other thing I did was cut out a Georgia top shirt. And this is going to be part of a 2-piece monochrome outfit. I have everything cut out, and it's been sitting there for like a month because I have not got to sew this together yet. But this is the Georgia tee, and I think this will just be a really quick little easy sew. And as long as I like the fit of this top, I have multiple sets that I'm planning on making with bottoms in the bob pants and top in the Georgia tee. Before I go, I was going to share a little bit about what I have been watching, reading, and listening to. What I'm reading, if you are not following the petite knitter, why are you not? She is known for her absolutely incredible colorwork designs, and she has recently released this beautiful, beautiful book, which is called Arctic Knits. This was very kindly gifted to me, but I was so excited for it. I would have definitely purchased it. And one of the things I was most excited for, of course, is all the gorgeous Colorwork yoke sweaters. I think I really love this baffin jumper. It's so beautiful. The willow mittens, I think, are going to be my first cast on. I think that they're stunning. Look at that colorwork motif. They're absolutely beautiful. They're bottom up, they're knit in the round. There's only 2 colors, color A and color B, which is my favorite kind of color work. And it uses the Sonder Yarn Co. DK weight yarn, which I happen to have some in stash, so I am ready to cast on immediately. I do think my favorite jumper in the book is between the Pingo jumper. Absolutely love that. Or the Arctica jumper, which is on the cover. Man, I love it. I love it so much. It's so good. But there's multiple colorwork jumpers, there's socks, there's hats. It's got it all. Now, if you do want to purchase this, she is actually running a promo right now where if you buy this, then you get a 10% off discount on all of her knitting patterns on her website. So, I'll make sure and link to her web shop where you can find this gorgeous, gorgeous book. I am so excited to knit all the things. Thank you so much for sending this to me. Oh, I'm such a huge fan. The work, the patterns, talk about very talented. Now, what I have been reading as well, I have a little thing. I've seen some people comment about audiobooks. Like, is it considered reading if you listen to an audiobook? And I have some thoughts on this. If somebody asks me, have you read this book, and I listen to it on an audiobook, then I'm going to say, yeah, I've read the book, and I've considered myself having read the book. However, if we're getting technical, then no, I don't think that, reading is listening to an audiobook. I do think that reading is when you use your eyes to read it yourself in your head or out loud. I think that is reading, technically. But, like I said, if somebody asks me, have you read this book, and I listen to it, yes, I have read this book. I find that before I used to prefer reading over listening to audiobooks because I had a really hard time with certain narrators, certain voices. I could not handle listening to an entire audiobook for. I felt like sometimes I could put certain emotion and voices in my head that I thought was more representative of characters. Also, I found at times if the story was too entangled and busy that, especially for the first few chapters, they would say names, and if I hadn't read the name and seen, both read it and seen it, I had a hard time remembering who was who. And because of that, sometimes I had a little trouble following just by listening as to which character was which for the first part of a story. And sometimes I still do. But my life has changed. I have 3 children. I am extremely busy. All of my time is spent multitasking. So if I have a minute to sit down and listen to an audiobook, then instead of reading a lot of times I will go ahead and listen because I can at the same time knit or fold clothes or do whatever I'm doing. And I do really enjoy listening to audiobooks. I do absolutely have to find my narrators. I have to find my people, and there's a lot of them I just cannot handle. As you know, I'm sure as you can tell, I do live in the South. I have been raised and lived here my entire life. I have traveled all over the world though, and I really like specific accents that I find very pleasing to listen to. A lot of times there will be people that will read books that are supposedly happening in the South, and they will put on a fake Southern accent, and I cannot listen to that. I'll tell you that right now. I cannot do that. One narrator I really do enjoy listening to is Jane Oppenheimer, and right now I am listening to the book The Frozen River, which is by Ariel Lawhon, and it's really interesting because it's based on a real person and real events, which this author has, of course, dramatized and, turned into a fictionalized story in the sense that there's been a lot added to it that we have no way of knowing, what exactly happened. But it is about a real person and real events that happened. Let me see, what year was it? 1789. The year 1789 in Maine. The Kennebec River freezes. This woman, Martha Ballard, she's a midwife, and she basically gets entangled in a murder mystery. Trigger warning though, it does, mention that previously sexual assault had happened. It does not talk about it in detail or when it happened, but I definitely want to put that out there. But I do love historical novels. I actually really like nonfiction historical novels, and this is a great storytelling. It's about a strong woman that was very smart and had to deal with the difficult things women had to deal with in 1789. And I find it very interesting so far. Okay, so what I'm listening to as far as some other things. So I do subscribe to Apple Music, and they, curate all these different playlists. And I did come across one, and it's called Sad Bangers. And, I actually have had some comments that I have a really cheery personality, but some of my music is a little bit too depressing. And I do apologize for that. I see you, I hear you, I understand what you're saying, and I am sorry. I don't know if it's because I have, I started playing the piano when I was 3 years old. I started taking piano lessons when I was 3, and I've played it my entire life. And I've played a lot of classical music. My favorite classical composer is Chopin, and he is just this deep, dark well of emotions, and I find it so cathartic somehow to listen to sad music that's a little bit bittersweet. And I just feel like that is my personality in the end. I do come off as very chipper, but the truth is I have a lot of emotions, and I feel like I can express them through music. And one thing it says in the info about this playlist says there's something about dancing when you're sad that feels more cathartic than dancing when you're happy. We're not saying it's good to feel bad, only that it can take a down mood to recognize just how uplifting a good song can be. These are for the bittersweet moments, the ones where you feel alone but safe, a little washed out but tough enough to pick yourself up and start over. And I feel like that is what I feel most days of my life. So there's some songs on here I definitely don't listen to, I don't really like. But there's also some good songs on here that I'm feeling them, and it just feels good.
Everything in life is very frightening, and I love you so much that I longer Mama, every thought I have undone. But it's like rain. I know, might just meet some guy and cry a little. Help me, I need a good advice. Please don't say no, be my hero. You can tell me lies, please don't cut these ties. Need a hero, 'cause I got zero.
Whining so hard, I think life's all about me. And it's hardly even snow, but I stay inside like it's the ice age. I need you to dry my face. Look how I behave, and all the mess that I made. But I did really do my best, breaking down my neck, and it's me to blame.
Yeah, yeah. Help me, I need a good advice. Please don't say no, be my hero. You can tell me lies, please don't cut these ties. Need a hero, 'cause I got zero.
All right, y'all, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you enjoy videos like this, make sure and give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on any future content. It also helps my channel out so much. I really appreciate reading through all of your comments. As I've mentioned before, I find them helpful to me on my knitting journey, and I think that other viewers of the podcast can really find some gems in there to help them out as well. So thank you for all the messages you leave me. I always read them, and I try to make sure I get a chance to respond to them. I hope that this coming week you can find some joy in your making, and I think our crafts, whatever it is, whichever craft it is that you love, they are truly cathartic things. They are always there when we need them, and I'm so glad that we have them to enrich our lives with. So until next time, happy knitting, y'all.